rather grandly called a keynote. It's not really a keynote at all, it's just me walking on a few ideas. The first thing I really want to say is a massive, massive welcome, particularly to those of you who come from all over North Shropshire. We've got people here from Wakefield, as far afield as that, in Telford, which is really fantastic. So you are very, very warmly welcome. We've got a break at half time. Please tuck into all the best food that Oswestry has to offer. And thank you so much for coming along. Now, some of you haven't been to a Teach Me before, so I'll just briefly explain how this works. It's entirely teacher-led, really, and that's the beautiful thing about it. So people have contacted me in various ways and said that they've got interesting things to share, ideas and so on, and we've put together a programme. So it's very much a grassroots movement. We're starting now, and then we'll have 4 presentations. Some of them are micro presentations of about 7 minutes, and some of them are nano presentations of just 3 minutes. If you're a presenter, please don't worry too much about that. I have been to teach meetings where they've massively overbooked the number of presenters. They've literally had to drag people off the stage if they overrun. We have a bit of flexibility in the system, so as long as you don't go on for 5 hours, it'll be absolutely fine. Please don't worry. Anyway, so this is the running order, and I've now touched base with Cora. She's coming up straight after me, and then run more or less seamlessly, I hope, straight afterwards, like that. People have been up and checked their presentation work and so on. As the turnover takes place, just to make it a bit slicker and so there's less worry for the presenter while they set themselves up, we also have a raffle, and I have selected education's most talked about on Twitter books, and these are selections of books. So these, the raffle will be run on a random name picker by Mrs. Note, and then if your name comes out of the random name picker, please do come up and first dibs on any of those books if your name comes up. Right, this is a Teach Me. Now, we're all teachers here, and very often we want to do this with mobile phones, but it doesn't work like that in here. Mobile phones and tablets are positively encouraged. Please do get them out. If you're on Twitter, it would be great. Wouldn't it be great if this started trending? Please do get them out. The hashtag is hashtag OSTM, and we have, you can see I'm in heaven here. We've got a live Twitter feed over there, and we've got a live Twitter feed over there. You might see a few tweets going out telling me that I'm talking about things I haven't yet mentioned. That's because I've got a few on time, just to kind of get things going. So, mobile phones, tablets, and tweeting while the presentations are going on won't be considered rude at all. In fact, it's positive and encouraged. Now, what do I want to say? I thought I would take as the theme for my keynote a geographical theme, and also illustrate. It's very, very easy to embed GIF images into Google Slides. So these moving images, they just make slideshows a little bit more interesting. The geographical theme that I want to use is the theme of a river, where the internet and Twitter in particular is like a river. Very, very fast flowing, but something that's great to have a swim in and perhaps drink from occasionally. And I hope that what I'm about to say encourages you to get involved with some of the things that that river of information offers. I've spent the last 3 years, and I'm now my 4th, studying Twitter and spending far too much time on the internet. My wife's at the back, so she'll attest to that. And one of the things that I've been studying is how teachers use Twitter. And it's been a really, really, really powerful experience. I've been able to play around with things like this. This is a free plugin, Node Excel, for those of you who are interested in networks. You can't really see it, but that's me in the middle. These are the last 100 people who mentioned me on Twitter. And you can see that I don't have a huge number of followers, but I have built up really with very, very little effort, quite a large network of people who are conversing with me. And so one of the things that I've been able to do is meet with other head teachers, meet with other teachers and chat to them about how they're using Twitter to make these kind of connections. I'd stress, I do not want to make any party political points here, but this just happened just this morning. It illustrates the power of these things. Tim Farron is the Lib Dem MP for the southern part of Cumbria. And having watched Newsnight last night, I thought he spoke really, really well. So just kind of randomly, I tweeted this. Having heard Tim Farron on Newsnight last night, there's a chance I might change my tune and vote Lib Dem. And the guy tweeted back. So there he is, TJJ teacher, I hope you do. And it's just an illustration, it's just one illustration of how Twitter is an incredibly kind of democratizing force. It enables you to converse with people who you would never normally be able to gain access to. And it really is quite exciting. I've also been in direct conversations with Richard Dawkins, who has 1 million followers, and he's speaking to me. So that side of things I think is really, really worth thinking about if you're not on Twitter. That 3 and nearly 4 years of work, I think, is more or less summed up by this slide. Give an educator a PD day, and you teach him or her for that day. Show an educator Twitter, and you support them for a lifetime. And I have started to find that definitely true. Dipping in and out of that stream and being able to gain access from experts to information that I need, ask questions of my personal network, find resources that I need. I really have found it incredibly powerful. So if you're not on Twitter, I really do recommend it. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about how to go into Twitter and log on and so on, because these companies, they deliberately make it very, very easy. So if anything that I'm saying now interests you, you're not on Twitter, you'll find it very, very easy to get on, and it's totally free. But I do want to talk briefly about the kinds of people I think you might like to follow. And it's very, very, very hard to choose, because you're looking for people whose views not only mirror your own, but also I think a few who are out there to challenge you. One of the dangers of Twitter is you surround yourself with this kind of echo bubble of people who agree with you. This is definitely something I found in my research. Isn't it wonderful? Everyone else votes Conservative. And in fact, you need to try and connect with people who maybe think differently as well. So this is my selection of people who agree with me and who tweet interesting stuff and have interesting blogs. And then people who maybe disagree with me a bit more, or who bring an international perspective. This lady, Jill Berry, was a head teacher in an all-girls school, and she's a curator, I'd say. So she seems to be fantastic at gathering information from all over the internet, bringing it towards herself, and then digesting it for people like you and me, who maybe don't have time to look at the stuff. She has time because she's retired, but she still takes a fantastic interest in education. If you follow her, it helps you keep up to speed with what's going on. Tom Sherrington, many of you will know about, he's got a huge following on Twitter, over 20,000 people. He was a head teacher at a pretty academic boys' grammar school somewhere near Ipswich. He's now moved to a much rougher North London school. And he works in this incredibly open way, sharing everything that he does, really sort of showing the inner workings of his school, which I find fantastically interesting. And he's also very, very interested in what goes on in the classroom. So it's not all senior management stuff by any stretch of the imagination. At Teacher Toolkit is the most followed teacher on Twitter, and I had an interview with him. So there's another example of how Twitter enables you to get hold of these people who have huge followings. He has 500 interactions every day on Twitter. 500 interactions. 500 people communicate with him and he communicates back. And he does communicate back. I don't know how he does his job, but he does. He does exactly the same job as being in a state school, and he is constantly producing this most wonderful stuff. David Dinau, who's at Learning Spy, writes some pretty controversial stuff about learning and teaching, which you definitely won't necessarily agree with, but he certainly makes you think, and I would recommend following him. This lady over here is an American educator, and it's just one of those things. I think people use the term serendipity a lot on Twitter. I just came across her randomly, and now we converse loads. And she's the person, if you're a Oswestry staff, who proposed me to do that kind of book study on one of the books that we've got here, Teach Like the Hairs on Fire. So this is a guy who works in an LA school, tough LA school, and it introduces you to a completely new world of education. It just kind of opens your eyes. So I recommend her. The guy down at the bottom, again, he's an American educator, tweets out loads and loads of really good stuff. Mark Anderson is someone to follow if you're interested in IT. He's got the most modern ideas, I think, about IT. And then this guy has actually left education now. But I think for me, he has challenged me most in my thinking about teaching, in my thinking about technology, and so on. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. Now, when I talk to people about my live session, they say, well, it's all very well, but how am I going to get time? I haven't got time to get onto Twitter. I'm too busy teaching. I haven't got time to read blogs. And I really do understand where you're coming from. So I'm going to just suggest a few ways that you can help yourself digest the enormous amount of material that is out there and swim, if you like, in that river that I described at the beginning. One is to use lists. So Twitter allows you to follow loads of people, but if you do that, you then get all their conversations appearing in the window and you can't see the wood for the trees. And it loses effectiveness. But if you use lists, you can actually sort these people by things that they usually tweet about. So I've got a list here for Oswestry Teach Me. Anyone who tweets with that hashtag will appear in this list. I've got a list for people I've interviewed. I've got a list for people who tweet about education, who I am really interested in. I want to see their tweets. They're here in that list. I've got a list called Leadership Management. That's people who tweet about things to do with, not necessarily just to do with leading schools, but with leading any sort of organisation. You can see the Harvard Business Review is one of these, and so on and so on and so on. And this enables me, maybe once a day, just have a quick scan down my lists and see whether anything interesting has come up without drowning in the stream. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that I do, and I find this really, really useful, there are other things that do this. Podcasts is one of them. But I like stuff to come to me, to my inbox. So when I come across a blog that I really like, I put it in this little program called Blog Trotter. And this periodically looks at the blogs that you've asked it to look at and sends you the things that have been newly added to the blog. So I have coming to my inbox news, if you like, that I've asked it to go and get. It comes to me in my inbox, and that means that I don't have to go and check the blogs. And I've set my inbox up so they don't clog up the main inbox, but they go to a separate label, which I can look at every day. So that's something that is worth considering. Anyone heard of If This Then That? If This Then That. This is an amazing, amazing program. People who are involved in computing capacity and ICT will recognise that format. If this happens, then this happens. Yeah? And it's the tagline of this program is getting the internet to do work for you. So I'm just showing you two recipes about that I find incredibly useful. Whenever I favourite something on Twitter, so put a little star by it, it emails my Evernote account, and it stores whatever it was in my Evernote account. And I use Evernote quite a lot, so it means that when I want to look for that interesting article that I saw, or whatever it was, it's automatically there in a folder that I specified in Evernote, and it helps me cope, if you like, with the stream of information. This is just another interesting one. At Oswestry School, we have a shared calendar, which I'm supposed to be responsible for organising and making sure that there are clashes on and so on. But I don't want to keep going and looking at the calendar. So I've got this set up where whenever someone puts something in the calendar, email me and tell me what they just put in. So I know you can get it to do things like that. You can get it to do things like, when I text my house, switch the lights on. Yeah? There's almost no limit to what this can do if you've got the right key. So very, very interesting things that are available. If none of that interests you, this might. This little program is called Nuzzle, stuff like that. And the icon is a little picture. And what this does, if you're on Twitter, is it curates the people you follow, and it serves you up the things that they've either retweeted the most or discussed the most. So it kind of acts as a filter, gets rid of all the junk, and it only serves you the stuff that that's garnered the most interest in them. I've got it set up so that every morning I get an email and gives me a digest of what was going on Twitter the day before. And it means that I feel that I missed stuff. Because if you start getting into Twitter, it's very, very easy to think, oh, I'm missing stuff, because the stream is coming so fast. And this gets rid of all the noise and just gives me the stuff that I need. And the last thing I want to mention is Today in Digital Education, which is a podcast by that chap I mentioned, who I think is a real thought leader, Doug Belshaw. He used to work for Mozilla and is now a freelance guy. And this chap, who is head of digital strategy at Outlook, every Sunday night they have a conversation and they're talking about issues to do with technology in education. So it's called Today in Digital Education. And you can subscribe to that podcast and listen to it whenever you like. And these people, they seem incredible at always knowing stuff first. And there are some people like that, so I get a lot of my news from there. Right, what if you want to start joining in? It's all very well just sitting there and listening to what's going on, but some of you might be thinking, oh, I want to join in. And just so happens that about 8 months ago, a guy I met on Twitter started up Staffroom, which is a kind of blogging platform for beginners. So it only allows you to do 500-word posts. It works very, very like Twitter, so you can mention people to draw their attention to something you posted. And it's only for teachers. Yeah? And you can get fantastic ideas from this. It's for teachers blogging about a decent lesson that they just had, or just sharing something that they think might be of interest to other teachers. Huge amount of interesting stuff here. The posts are all public, so even if you don't join Staffroom, you can look at the posts. Now I'm going to finish. A little while ago, a guy called Stephen Lockyer, who was actually the first person to post on Staffroom, did a little experiment. This is the kind of random thing that people call Staffroom. And he's a primary school teacher, and he wanted to see whether there was any difference in the speed that the tissues went through his tissue box. So he had a tissue box at the front.